Remember opening the fridge as a kid in the 1970s? The soft hum, the clinking glass jars, and that unmistakable smell of leftovers wrapped in wax paper. Inside, you'd find things that today's kids wouldn't even recognize: bright, jiggly, oddly shaped, and sometimes a little mysterious, but back then, they were a part of life. Today, we're taking a deliciously strange trip down memory lane with 10 forgotten American foods that were in almost every fridge during the groovy 1970s. 1. Gelatin salads. The wobble on every table. No potluck or family dinner was complete without a jiggly masterpiece front and center. Gelatin salads, often packed with shredded carrots, olives, cottage cheese, or canned pineapple, were as much about presentation as they were about taste. They were molded into rings, towers, and domes, sometimes with layers of color and texture. Born out of the post-war fascination with convenience and color, these dishes were symbols of creativity and homemaking pride. But by the 80s, changing tastes and growing health concerns turned these into oddities. Today, they live mostly in faded cookbooks and old family photos. 2. Tang, the drink fit for astronauts. When NASA gave Tang the thumbs up for space missions, every kid suddenly wanted a glass of the powdered orange drink. It was easy, quick, and didn't need refrigeration. Just scoop, stir, and blast off. In the 1970s, Tang was a kitchen staple, especially in homes with busy moms and cereal-loving kids. But over time, real juice and healthier options edged Tang off the shelves. It's still around, but it's no longer orbiting the spotlight like it used to. 3. Deviled ham, the little can with a kick. Remember that tiny white can with the red devil on it? Deviled ham wasn't just a spread, it was a sandwich lifesaver. Salty, creamy, and just a bit spicy, it was a go-to for quick lunches or road trip snacks. First canned in the 1800s, it really hit its stride in the 70s, especially with budget-conscious families. But tastes evolved, and processed meat lost its appeal. Now, deviled ham mostly lingers in the corners of grocery shelves or your grandparents' pantry. 4. TV dinners, a tray full of wonder. There was something magical about peeling back the foil to reveal a perfectly partitioned dinner: turkey, mashed potatoes, corn, and maybe even a brownie. TV dinners weren't just food, they were an experience. Families gathered around the TV, frozen tray in hand, watching the Brady Bunch or MASH *. Created in the 50s but booming in the 70s, they promised convenience during the rise of dual-income households. But as microwaves replaced ovens and fresher options hit the market, the old-school foil tray faded into memory. 5. Hi-C, the juice box hero. Before juice boxes were cool, there was Hi-C. Packed in metal cans you had to puncture with a triangular can opener, Hi-C came in flavors like orange lavaburst and Ecto Cooler. It was bright, sugary, and totally kid-approved. Lunchboxes weren't complete without it. But as sugar became the villain in the food world, Hi-C was quietly swapped out for water bottles and 100% juice. Still, every sip today brings back memories of sticky fingers and summer afternoons. 6. Pimento loaf, a deli counter classic. Pimento loaf might be one of the strangest things to ever grace a sandwich. A pinkish processed meat dotted with green olives and red pimentos, it was like bologna's fancy cousin. Moms bought it by the pound, sliced fresh at the deli counter, and served it up on white bread with a swipe of mayo. It felt special, even if it wasn't exactly gourmet. Over time, though, changing tastes and health trends made it one of those "what was that" foods from the past. 7. Canned fruit cocktail, dessert in syrup. That little tin of chopped peaches, pears, grapes, and one lonely cherry. Yep, fruit cocktail. It was sweet, sticky, and a common side dish for school lunches and Sunday dinners alike. Sometimes served chilled in a fancy glass dish, other times plopped on cottage cheese or Jell-O. It was the shortcut to a healthy dessert. But fresh fruit became more available year-round, and canned options lost their charm. Still, one look at that syrupy mix brings back memories of simpler times and metal can openers. 8. Cool Whip, cloudy, creamy, iconic. Cool Whip wasn't just a topping, it was the finishing touch. Stored in that familiar blue and white tub, it topped pies, fruit salads, and everything in between. Unlike real whipped cream, it stayed fluffy and stable, perfect for make-ahead desserts. Introduced in the late 60s, it hit its peak in the 70s, when convenience was king. While it's still sold today, many have returned to real cream, leaving Cool Whip to reign mostly in retro recipes. 9. Vienna sausages, the pantry pick-me-up. Tiny, soft sausages packed in brine and sealed in a can. They weren't pretty, but they were practical. Vienna sausages were a survival food, a road trip snack, and sometimes even a party appetizer on toothpicks. Popular during economic downturns and camping trips, they represented both thrift and reliability. As tastes changed, they became less common in kitchens, but for some, they still carried the comfort of home. 10. Ham and banana hollandaise, the forgotten fancy dish. Yes, this was real. A popular mid-century dish that hung on through the early 70s, it featured bananas wrapped in slices of ham, covered in a buttery hollandaise sauce, then baked until warm. It was meant to be upscale, a bit exotic, and definitely unforgettable, though maybe not in the way intended. Eventually, the rise of global cuisine and better food photography helped this dish disappear quietly. Today, it's mostly remembered as a curious relic, and maybe a reason Mom stopped experimenting in the kitchen. Ah, the foods of the 1970s, strange, colorful, and full of memories. They may not all make sense today, but each one tells a story about how America cooked, ate, and gathered around the dinner table. Which of these foods do you remember? Did your family have a favorite that's not on this list? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this walk through culinary history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more vintage goodness on American Rewind.